Hi everyone, welcome to our Oracle Goldengate Microservices training day 2. My name is Ashish Agarwal, and I'll be delivering this lecture to you. So before commencing the session, just a quick round of update regarding my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Ashish Agarwal_GG. So if you haven't visited the channel, I would request you do visit the channel and do like, share and subscribe the channel. The channel is dedicated to Golden Gate related. Yes. Thank you. So the today's session agenda, we are going to discuss about installation of Goldengate microservices. How do we install? How do we create service manager in Oracle Goldengate microservices? What is deployment and how to create the deployment? Then how do we log into service manager? What are different services which are part of Oracle Goldengate microservices and service manager? Then we'll be discussing about directory structures and credential store. So we discussed in the previous session that in Golden Gate you have got service manager. So this is service manager. Now under service manager you have got different services running like administration server, distribution server, performance matrix server, and receiver server. So these four services basically form the deployment for you. So this is service manager, and these four services together, they form a deployment. So under service manager, you have got deployment. So you'll understand once we do installation. So let us first of all discuss about installation, download and installation of Oracle Goldengate. Before we proceed to download the software, now suppose you are being tasked to build a Goldengate server from scratch. So basically, you are working for a project where Goldengate is not there right now. You are tasked to install, configure, manage Goldengate. So you are basically the Goldengate architect. Along with that, you will be configuring, managing, analyzing everything you will be doing. So how will you do? And what steps you need to do? Let us discuss about that. So first of all, for Goldengate, let us first of all discuss about hardware requirements. What are the hardware requirements related to Goldengate? So first question comes to you, like when you are building a new Goldengate server or you are using the existing server, how many CPUs server you want? So basically the server, how many CPUs it should have? So for Goldengate to work properly, 4 or 8 core CPU is fine. It can accommodate maximum number of processes, whatever you want to configure. So if you want to request more, definitely you can request like 16 core, 32 core, but 4 or 8 core CPU is good. So you should request for that. Second question comes after you have decided, like, so we are building, first of all, we are building the server, right? So on the server, first of all, CPU, how much CPU Goldengate need? So we'll define that 4 or 8 CPU. Then how much space we need? Because see, Goldengate is a product which requires, which is installed on an operating system, right? So it requires some space. So the next question comes, how much space we need and what should be the mount point size? So for that purpose, first of all, we need to decide whether you want to add a whether you want to install Goldengate in a new mount point, like say for example /Goldengate, or you want to create, or you want to use the existing mount point like /data or /u01. So it's completely up to you. But remember one thing, whatever you want to do, you will need space. So if you are requesting for new mount point, in that case you need to request for space. And if you are going to use the existing mount point, in that case you need to ensure that sufficient space gets added onto that. Okay, so this is about space requirement. Now the question comes, how do you calculate the space requirement? How would you calculate that, how much space you need? So remember one thing, the Goldengate software doesn't need much space. The Goldengate software itself needs less than 2 GB, but we need space for storing the trail files. What does Goldengate do is Goldengate extracts the data and writes it to local trail. So basically those trail files get generated, and those trail files requires mount point. So you have to ensure that the mount point you are defining, it should have sufficient space, right? Now the question comes, how do you calculate, how do you do space calculation in your environment. So each person individually has different way to calculate. Now I'll tell you how do I calculate, just for your reference, so that if you want to follow that, you can follow. So what I do is generally to calculate how much space I need in Goldengate mount point, what I do is I take out last 30 to 60 days day wise archive log generation. So basically size. So in last 30 to 60 days, what is day wise archive log generation? So in some day, say for example, there is 20 GB archive which has been generated. In some day there is only 1 GB. In some day there is 100 MB. On some day there is 100 GB. So what I do is I take average of 7 days highest archive log generation. So basically out of these 60 or 30 days, I'll take average of highest 7 days archive log generation. So say for example, highest 7 days are 100 GB, 50 GB, 10 GB, 5 GB. So I take average of those and use that for calculation purpose. So suppose the average of 7 highest days log generation is 25 GB, right? Now we need to store these on operating system, right? And we have to define like for how many days, just like archive logs. We keep them for 7 days, 15 days based on business requirement. Same applies to trail files as well, Goldengate trail file. So Goldengate trail file should be purged after certain amount of time. So generally, if there is no guideline, we generally follow 7 days trail file. So we keep last 7 days trail file generally. Now again, it may vary as per your business requirement as well as customer requirement. So if customer wants more, definitely you will need more space. So what I do is basically I take average of 7 highest archive log generation. I multiply it by 7. So basically number of days I need to store the trail files for. So it comes out to be 175 GB, right? Then I multiply it by 2 to 5 times and request for that much space. So see, basically we have to understand one thing. Today, this is the archive log generation, right? The average which we are calculating based on today, 9th of August 2023. But this capacity requirement, what we have to give, it based on next 2 to 5 years, right? So definitely a database will grow. So to take into account the future growth, we request for 2 to 5 GB multiplier, whatever we have calculated. And based on that, we request for the mount point space. So basically, I would request generally 800 GB of space. Now, they may ask you for the justification, right? So if justification is needed, definitely you can give like based on the growth and based on your analysis, you have given this requirement. Okay. So either you can add it to existing mount point if you are installing Goldengate in existing mount point, or if you are choosing a new Goldengate mount point, then add or allocate this space to new mount point. Okay. So first is hardware requirement. Second is space requirement. Now, third question comes, which user to use to install Goldengate? That is another question which comes, right? So in some environment, you must have seen, if you have seen, like in some environment, Goldengate is installed with Oracle user. However, in some environment, they use some other user like GG admin or GG user or any other user to install Goldengate, right? So it's completely up to you. If you want to use Oracle user, you can use, or if you want to use some other user, you can do that as well. Okay. So, but ensure that if you are using Oracle, if you are using any other user apart from Oracle, make sure that this user should be part of O install group because it needs to read the logs, right? So you have to ensure that this user should be part of O install OS group. Okay. Now, what happens generally is, if in your organization, if DBAs are going to manage your Goldengate environment, then generally you use Oracle. But if Goldengate and DBA team are separate, in that case, you use GG user, or you create any other user with different name, and that user should be part of your install group. Okay. So these are the requirements for server level. Now, once your server is ready, and once you have identified that your server is ready to install Goldengate, next step is you go ahead and install Goldengate. So now the question comes, which version should you download? How do you ensure that which version you need to download? Because the versions are, Goldengate versions available are 11G, 12C, 18C, 19C, in fact 21C is also there. So how would you define? So remember one thing, everything depends on what is the type of database you have, what is the version you have, and third thing is what is the platform your database is hosted, or your Goldengate is hosted. Okay. So in our case, the Goldengate we are going to install on this VM. Okay. So if I check this VM, sorry. If I check this VM, the platform is uname -a. Platform is Enterprise Linux 7. Okay. So in our case, we have got source database type as Oracle. The database version we are going to use is Oracle Database 19C, and the platform is Enterprise Linux 7. Same applies to target as well. The target database type is Oracle. The target database version is 19C, and target platform is Enterprise Linux. Now, once you have identified these information, next step is you need to go ahead and check the certification matrix to ensure that which Goldengate version is supported for Oracle Database 19C and platform Enterprise Linux. So now we'll check the certification matrix. So how do you check certification matrices? You can do Fusion middleware. Go to Google and search Fusion middleware certification matrix. So Goldengate is Fusion middleware product. So that's why. So you need to search Fusion middleware, Oracle Fusion middleware certification matrix. So select the first link, what you get. Here you will find, go below, here you will find certification matrix for Goldengate. Like there are different, whatever Fusion middleware products are there, you will find certification matrix for that. So like you see here, you have got certification metric for Oracle Goldengate 21C. Then you have got Oracle Goldengate 19C, 18C certification matrix. Then if you go below, you will find 11G, 12.3, 12.2, 12.1. All certification metrics are present. So go ahead and select the Excel. So go ahead and select the 21C certification matrix. Okay, now once we have downloaded the certification matrix, I'll download it again. I'll open it. So this is 21C certification matrix I'm downloading. So now here we'll see, go to Goldengate. Now we'll check. So always ensure that use the latest version which is supported with your database version, platform, etc. So 21C is the latest version. So we are checking right now whether 21C supports our environment or not, whatever we have. So I'll check the product family is Oracle Goldengate for Oracle. So if you see, one question which you might ask is, which databases Goldengate 21c supports? So the answer lies here. Goldengate 21c supports DB2, MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, SQL Server, Teradata, timestamp. So does that mean Goldengate only supports these many databases? It doesn't support any other databases? Now, it is possible that 21c hasn't been rolled out for other databases. It has been only rolled out for these databases. Now, if you want to check for any other database, you can go, if your database or any version is not listed here, go ahead and check earlier version certification matrix. Okay, so right now we are checking 21c certification matrix. So we are going to check Oracle Goldengate for Oracle right now. Okay, now once we have selected, so see, this Oracle Goldengate for Oracle supports these OS versions. So ours is Enterprise Linux 7. So I'll select here, instead of selecting everything, I'll just select Enterprise Linux 7.8. Okay, so if you see here, if you go on the right, now this 21c 21.3 supports our Oracle database. Okay, which versions it supports? It supports 11.04, 12.1.0.2, 19c and 21c databases are supported by Goldengate 21c. So our database version is 19c. Our database type is Oracle and the platform is Enterprise Linux 7. So what we can find from this certification matrix is 21c supports our database, whatever database we have. Now, suppose if your database is not listed here in this certification matrix, in that case, you can go ahead and check 19c certification matrix. If 19c also doesn't show, go to 18c and check subsequently until 11g. Okay, now the question comes, why do we need certification matrix? So the reason being, so that you are right first time. Now suppose I'm using a database which 21c Goldengate doesn't support, right? So if I go ahead and download 21c right now, and my database doesn't support 21c, whatever effort I will make, it doesn't deliver any fruit. And another thing is, like, when you are working as a Goldengate administrator, when you are hired as a Goldengate administrator, it is expected that these are the small things. You are right first time. It doesn't make you look good if you miss this part. So it is always imperative that you select the certification matrix before downloading the software. So this proves that Goldengate 21c supports this version and database. So now what we can do is, we can go ahead and download Oracle Goldengate 21c. Okay, so how do we download? Go to Google, you can download Oracle Goldengate 21c. Download Oracle Goldengate 21c. Select this Oracle Goldengate downloads. So we are going to download Oracle Goldengate 21.3. So if you go below, as I mentioned in the previous session as well, like database Goldengate binaries are different for each database and platform. So if you see, this is Oracle Goldengate 21.3 for Oracle on Linux. So that means you cannot use it for Windows. And another thing is the one which says Oracle Goldengate only. That means it is classic architecture binaries. But the one which says microservices, that means it is microservices binary. Okay, so if you want to install classic architecture binary, then select the one without microservices. But if you want to install microservices, then choose microservices binary. Okay, so if you see here, this is the binary for Oracle. This is Oracle Goldengate 21.3 for Oracle on Windows x86 64. So you see, each database and platform has different binary. These are DB2 related binary. These are DB2 for ZOS, right? These are MySQL compatible databases binary for Goldengate. This is what Postgres on Linux binary. So each database has its own set of binaries. Okay, so you need to select which binary you want to choose, and based on that you can proceed. Okay, so our database version is Oracle on Linux. So we are going to go ahead and choose this one. Now suppose in case if your binaries are not listed here, which you want to download, so you can go ahead and download the binary from edelivery.oracle.com. So you can find the binaries over edelivery as well. So you can search here Oracle Goldengate. So this e-delivery contains 11G Goldengate binaries as well, the old earlier version is. So you can choose whatever you want to download. So select, so see this e-delivery contains Goldengate 18.1, 12.3, 12.2, 0.2, 12.2.0.1, 12.1.2.1, 11G binaries, everything you can find over.
But it's only a classic architecture.
No? Now click on this. Okay, you selected, you added to the cart. Okay, go to view items, continue. Here you select the platform. Say for example, you want to download it for Linux x86 64. Continue. Continue. Now here you can select which one you want to download. Like whether you want to download microservices for Oracle, so you have got all the options available, whatever you see, you saw. Right? So now, okay, I think I said we'll download this. Now we'll download this one because this training is for microservices. So we'll select this one. So you have to choose which binary you want to download. So based on that, you will choose. So if you select this, you can go ahead and download and then provide your information. It will download the binary. Once you download the binary, transfer it on your machine and then you are good. So the virtual boxes which are shared with you, these virtual boxes comes with database and Goldengate. So if you see here, so binaries are present for Goldengate, but they are not installed. Okay. So remember one thing, the password of Oracle user is Oracle and the password of root user is root for these VMs. Okay. So if you go to /home, so once you import the binaries import the VMs, you just have to start the database. So do lsnrs first, start the listener, exit, and then start the database. The instructions are already on that. So you can start up over the portal, you can find. So startup and alter pluggable database pdb1 open read write. So we are using multi-tenant databases here. Same way here as well. Startup and alter pluggable database pdb2 open read write. Okay, so now we are going to install Goldengate Microservices. So the Goldengate binaries are present under /home/Oracle. Under /home/Oracle, there is a folder called as softwares. So go to softwares. So your binaries for all classic architecture, microservices, and Veridata. is present under this /home/Oracle/software. Okay. So these are the microservices. The one which says MSA, that means they are microservices by name. So go to this folder, OGG_MSA. Okay. Now, when you download the folder, it comes in zipped format. So you need to unzip it. So while unzipping is in progress, so just to let you know, in microservices, what happens is there are 3 homes you have to create. Okay. There are 3 homes basically. One is Goldengate home. So Goldengate home is basically where you will install Goldengate. Okay. That is called as Goldengate home. I again repeat, in microservices, there are 3 homes which you will have to create. First is Goldengate home. The Goldengate home is the installation of Oracle Goldengate is made. Then second is Service Manager home. So Service Manager home you define separately. So Service Manager home is for Service Manager. And third home you create is for deployment. That is called as deployment home. So as I told, under Service Manager, you have got different services like admin server, performance matrix server, distribution server, and receiver server. So all these services together are called as deployment. So we create a deployment home as well. So there are 3 homes which are created. First is Goldengate home, second is Service Manager home, and third is deployment home. So you need to define 3 homes before you proceed to install Oracle Goldengate microservices. So you can name them anything. Okay. So generally I name like the Goldengate home as OGG123_MA. The service MA means microservices architect. So this is Goldengate home. You can name anything, whatever you want to name. Second is OGG123_SM means it means it is service manager home. And third is OGG123_deploy, which means it is deployment home. Just to let you know, the activity guide 1 and 2 are there as well, which we are following. So activity guide 1 discusses how to download Goldengate microservices. Okay. And then activity guide 2 discusses about installation of Goldengate microservices. So whatever we are doing is present in this document as well. Okay. So we are going to create 3 homes, the location where we want to install Goldengate microservices. Okay. So we are right now installing Goldengate in Ggate 1. I think I by mistakenly unzipped it in Ggate 2, but that's okay. I can again unzip in Ggate 1 as well. So I'll go to /home/Oracle/softwares GG_MSA 21C. Unzip here. Now what I'll do, I'll create 3 folders for Goldengate home, deployment home, and service manager. So I'll go to /data app Oracle. So what I'm doing right now is I'm installing Goldengate with Oracle user and using the existing mount point. Okay. Data app Oracle product. Now here I'll create 3 directories. First is OGG123_MA, then OGG123_SM, and OGG123_deploy. As I mentioned, you can choose any name. It's completely up to you. It's not mandatory that you have to choose these names. Okay. So 3 directories are created. So basically when I install Goldengate, it will be installed under this OGG123_MA. When we create the service manager, it will be defined under this. And for deployment, the deployment home will be defined under this folder. Okay. Now Once your binaries are unzipped, there will be a folder, this folder. So go to this folder, FBO, GGS Linux x64 Oracle Services ship home. Now go to disk 1. There you'll find run installer. So you need to run installer. So let me set the display. So on these VMs, if you have to set the display, you can do xhost space plus. It will set the display for you. Okay. Now run installer. So run installer will basically invoke a GUI for you. So we didn't check the space here. If you should always check the space. So I have cd/data df-kh dot. I have 81 GB space available. Okay, so I'm good. This is training and development, right? So I have 81 GB, that is sufficient. Now, when you install Goldengate Microservices 21C, the difference between 19C installation and 21C installation is the 19C installation asks for which Goldengate, which database version you want to install Goldengate for. So you need to select the version which you want to choose, like if whether you want to install Goldengate for 18C, 19C, 12C, 11G database. But with 21C, this is the new feature that it has got a universal build. That means same binaries, you don't need to provide the version of database. Same binary will work for 11G, same binary will work for 12C, same binary will work for 18C or 19C or 21C Oracle database. You don't have to choose that option here. Okay, so that is the difference between 19C and 21C. Once, so this is by default selected, click on next. Now you need to provide the software location. So where your Goldengate will be installed. So basically here you need to provide the Goldengate home OGG123_MA /data app Oracle product. So we created 3 directories, right? So right now this Goldengate will be installed under Goldengate home. So I'll select this directory OGG123_MA. Click on open. Right? Click on next. And then install Goldengate. So your Goldengate will be installed now. So you can see how easy it is to install Goldengate binaries. But next would be creating the service map. So this installs only the binaries for you. This doesn't do anything else. Next step would be creating the service manager, which is the separate step. So let us wait for this to complete. It will be done quickly. Okay. So it's about to complete. So it says installation of Oracle Goldengate is successful. Close it. So your Goldengate is installed successfully. So go to the location. /data app Oracle product. Go to OGG123_MA. Here you can find Goldengate binaries have been installed in this. So go to bin directory. Here you will find oggca.sh, this one. So you need to run this. So this oggca.sh stands for Oracle Goldengate Configuration Assistant. So what it does is it creates the service manager for you. So to create the service manager now, so your Goldengate installation has been done, but your service manager and deployment. So what happens in microservices is you have 3 layers. Okay. First is Goldengate. home. Then you create service manager, and under service manager, you have got deployments. So one service manager can have more than one deployment as well. Okay. Okay. So now we have installed Goldengate in this folder, but now we need to create the service manager and then subsequently deployment inside the service. So how do we do that? You run oggca.sh. So this will again invoke a GUI for you. So this resides under oggca.sh, resides under Goldengate home /bin directory. Okay. So now it's asked, can you create a new service manager? So because we don't have, if you want to choose this, you can choose, but we don't have any service manager, so it won't work. It says service manager, not home. So we need to create a new service manager. So to create a new service manager, you need to provide service manager home. So the service manager home would be ogg123_sm. Data, app, Oracle, product. So this will be the service manager, right? So select it. Okay. So this will be the service manager home for you. Now you register your service manager as a system, service, or daemon. So what happens is, when you register your service manager as a system or service, system, daemon, or service, system, service, or daemon, sorry, what happens is, suppose your server reboots. So what happens is, your service manager basically runs as a daemon. So what happens is, suppose if your server has to reboot now, automatically when it restarts, automatically the service manager also comes up. So you don't have to manually then start the service manager upon server reboot. Automatically it starts then. So this is the purpose of running it as a system, service, or daemon. Okay. Then you provide the listening host name address. So you can provide either here the host name or IP address, whatever you want to provide. And then you need to provide the listening port. So what happens is, all the services, whatever we are mentioning here, all the services here requires a port to run on. So service manager requires a port to run on. Similarly, admin server, distribution service, performance metric service, or receiver service, everyone needs a port to run on. Okay. So we need to define, first of all, here we are defining the service manager port. Okay. So service manager port I'm defining, say for example on Ggate 1 as 7820. Okay. So I'm providing the host name as well as the listening port. Once you are done, click on next. So this will be the service manager home. Now under service manager, we need to add the deployment. So select add new deployment. Okay. Because as I told you, under service manager, you have got performance metric server, distribution server, admin server, and receiver server. So all those forms a deployment. So now you need to add a new Goldengate deployment. Click on next. Okay. Now you will define the name of the deployment. So whatever name you want to choose for the deployment, you can choose. I'm choosing the name as DEP1. And then the software home would be Goldengate home. Now here you need to provide the deployment home. This is very important. So this is the place where you will provide your deployment home. So first, when you installed Goldengate, you provided Goldengate home. Then when you start running the oggca.sh, in that case, it first of all you provide the service manager home, and then you are later on providing the deployment home. This integrate with XAG option is also there. What it means is basically if your Goldengate is running in a rack environment, so integrate with XAG, what it does is it automatically does the failover to the other server. So suppose there are two nodes, Goldengate runs only from one node. So what happens is when you select this integrate with XAG, what it does is basically it automatically do the failover to the other node in case this node goes down. Okay, click on next here. So you provide the service manager home here and then the deployment home while we create the deployment. Okay, so here I'll provide the deployment home, which is OGG123 underscore deploy. Okay, so basically this is the deployment. Now what happens is here's the difference between classic and microservices directory structure. Now this is a question for you. In classic architecture, which folder does your trail files and parameter
Here or
files?
that.
Sorry?
They
I
are
said
that.
here or
dir.
that.
So trail files reside inside dir dat directory, absolutely. And parameter files reside inside
They are
Here,
PRM.
here.
dir PRM. I'm talking about classic architecture. Okay.
Right.
So the location of dir dat is
The trail files.
Goldengate home / dir dat. Same way the location of dir PRM is gg home / dir PRM. Right. Now in microservices, if you see, so I'm choosing customized directories. So if you see, the location of trail files is this deployment home, which is until here, /var lib data. Under this folder, by default, your trail files will go. Your parameter files will go inside this location, deployment home /etc/conf. Don't worry guys, because you might be hearing or understanding this location for the first time. So you might feel like it's tough, but no, it's not. It's very easy. Once you work on it, you will find it. But I'm trying to show you that by default, the location of all the files in microservices architecture is different. So the directory structure of classic architecture is different than microservices. Okay, so you can always define your own location as well for these trail files. Say for example, I say that I'm more familiar with classic and I want to follow the same directory structure. So what I can do is for parameter file, I can dir PRM. So under deployment home folder, I'll create a directory as dir PRM and trail files will go, the parameter file will be created inside that. Same way for trail files, I can create one dir dat folder under Goldengate, under deployment home. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll go to OGG123 underscore deploy. Here I'll create two directories, dir dat and dir PRM. So you can always customize the directory if you're more comfortable with traditional way of using. Okay. Otherwise, these were the default locations. So here what I'll do the installation like customizing the directories, but when we do on Gate2, we won't customize it. Okay. Once you are done, click on next. Now here you can provide your environment details like Goldengate home is this, then the
So how
library
about
path is this. Then if you want to provide the TNS admin, you can provide the TNS admin as well. So let me do open a new window. Oracle home network/admin. Okay, so I'll provide this location. So the TNS admin will be this location. Now, if you want to add any other information like database SID, Oracle home, if you want to add, we can add Oracle home as well. So the Oracle home is echo $oracle_home. Okay. Now, once you are done, click on next. Okay. Now, this is very important thing. This is the administrator account. So what happens is when you log into Service Manager, it asks for the username and password. Okay. So you define that username and password over here. You can provide any username, any password. But remember, this username and password you are providing, this refers to Service Manager login. Okay. So the username is ggAdmin I'm providing. And the password as well I'm providing ggAdmin. I'll confirm ggAdmin. And I'll deselect enable strong password policy. So this username and password is for Service Manager login. So once this installation is completed, I'll show you. So how do we log into Service Manager? So this username and password you provide over here. Click on next. Now next is the security option. If you want to choose any security option, you can. Otherwise, uncheck this. There will be no. So HTTP and HTTPS. So if you want to use HTTPS, secured connection, in that case, what you can do is you can import the wallet from your organization and import it over here. Okay. If you don't, then deselect it and click on next. Then next it asks for is the port number. So as I told you, by default, as I told you, each service in Goldengate Microservices requires a port to run on. So you need to define the port for all the services. So I'll provide, say, for example, for administration server, because my service manager is running on 7820. So to be a continuous, I'll provide admin server as 7821. So what happens is the distribution service runs on port number 7822. The receiver server runs on port 7823. Then you have this enable monitoring. So this enable monitoring is basically performance metric server. So if you want to choose enable right now, you can do that. Otherwise, you can enable it after after installation or creation of Service Manager. Okay. So enable monitoring means performance metric server should be enabled or not. So you can choose to enable performance metric server here. If you don't choose it, by default, it won't be enabled. Click on next. Then it asks for the default schema. So what happens is default schema, what it means. So if you want to relate it to classic architecture. So in Goldengate, you create some heartbeat table, you create checkpoint table, etc. So you provide a schema under global's parameter file, right?
Sir, can you go back once?
So you provide the if you have any question, you can post in the chat window. Okay, so this default schema, basically what it does is, default schema means whatever heartbeat table or checkpoint table you need to create, it gets created inside this default schema. So you provide the default schema over here. What happens over here is, once you provide the default schema, a global's parameter file is created. Okay. And under the global's parameter file, you define the user. So this user may be should be part of the database. So right now I'm providing any user. Right now we can change that user anytime. So whatever username we provide over here, what happens is that you under that user, your checkpoint file or heartbeat table, etc. gets created. Okay. So you can provide any user for now. So say for example, I'm providing C ## GG training 1. You can always change it later on. But yeah, this user, what you're providing here, later on it will be needed that this should be part of the database. Okay. Now suppose if you find that this user is not part of the database, in that case you can choose to use any other user, or you can create it afterwards. We'll be creating the user afterwards. Okay. Okay, I'll go back to the previous screen. So in this screen we provide the port numbers on which all the services run. Then there is one, so what happens is the performance matrix server stores the data in it stores the data internally, right? So if you want to provide any data store home, you can provide, but we keep it like default. So we use the data store type as BDB, which is Berkeley database. You have got two options here. One is Berkeley database, second is LMDB. LMDB stands for light memory database. You can read about what is Berkeley database, what is LMDB. So we go ahead with the default options, like we choose BDB, Berkeley database option, and we keep this option like the data store home is empty. Okay. Now click on next. Here this is okay. Now verify the summary. If everything is okay, you can go ahead and click on finish. This will create your service manager, as well as this will register your service manager as daemon, as well as it will also create the deployment. Okay. We set the Oracle home during the environment variable page. So we did. Is XAG feature available in classic Goldengate architecture also? So yes, you can choose to configure, like do the automatic failover using XAG in classic. Yeah. Okay. So now to register service manager as a system service or daemon, we need to run following script. When we run this script, what happens is service manager is registered as a daemon. So let me run that. This script should be executed as root user. So I'll do su hyphen. Password of root user is root. I'll go to that location. Okay. Now run this. Register service manager.sh. So what this will do is it will register the service manager as a daemon. Okay. So now your service manager is registered as a daemon. Just to let you know, when you register your service manager as a daemon, under this folder, service manager home/bin, you get this script. But when you don't choose register service manager as a daemon, in that case you get stop service manager. Just to let you know, I'm telling, when I do the installation of Goldengate microservices in Ggate 2, I'll show that to you, but you will see the difference. Just to give you a heads up, when you register service manager as a daemon, in that case you get this option, register service manager.sh. If you don't select that option, you don't get this option. Okay. So the Goldengate installation is completed on Ggate 1. Along with that, your admin server is also, your service manager is also created, and deployment is also done. So now to check whether your service manager is running or not, how do you check? You can do ps-ef grep service. So your service manager is running. Now to reach service manager, you can reach this service manager from any machine in the network. So I'll try to reach from my, so this is my VM and this is my outside machine. So I'll try to reach service manager from outside machine, which is in the network. So let me do ifconfig. So the IP address is this 192, this IP address. So what I'll do, :7820. So I'll try to reach IP address : administration, sorry, service manager port. So the service manager is running on port 7820. Press enter. So if your service manager is installed and it's running, you will be able to reach the service manager. Okay. Now, which username and password I need to provide here? Anyone? From where do
Admin.
GG admin? You remember we provided that
admin.
username and password. I told you. So this is for here we provide. So the username is GG admin and password is GG admin. So under here, you can see that we created one deployment with the name deployment1. So under that, you have got different services running like administration service, distribution service, performance matrix service, as well as receiver service. Now, if you want to stop any service, click on action and stop it. You can stop. If you want to, so now you see it is stopped. Now, if you want to start it, you just start. If you just want to disable it, you can always disable it as well. It's up to you. Shows disabled or shows only stopped when we disable it. Okay, you see it is disabled. So can we get it enabled? Yes. Just click on enable. And then again click on, let me refresh. So what happens is whatever we are doing here, a REST API call is being made to the server. Okay. So Goldengate Microservices, this microservices is basically installed on Ggate 1 server. Now what is happening is whatever we are doing right now, our REST API call is being made to the server and then it is receiving the output accordingly. Okay. So now click on action and then you can start it again. Okay. If you want to check your other administration service, etc., click on that port number, you will be redirected to the administration service. So again, the password remains same, GG admin. Okay. So this is your administration service. So service manager, you see you have service manager. So service manager is watchdog for all the services like administration service, distribution service, performance matrix service, as well as receiver service. Okay. Now, if you want to configure the Goldengate processes, you can click on administration service, or if you want to directly reach out to administration service, you can reach out to administration service directly using port number. So using IP address : port number on which your admin server is running on. Okay. Now, if you want to configure any Goldengate extract process, you can configure the Goldengate extract processes over here, which we'll be discussing in future, like in the subsequent sessions. If you want to perform the configuration here, you can create Goldengate credentials here on this page. Okay. All the parameter files you can view from here. So see, the globals parameter file is created and the default schema which we had provided, you see, C# GG training 1 is present. So if you want to change it later on, so you don't have to fret upon like we provided different username which is not present in database during installation. How do I change it? So just go to parameter files, then select globals, click on edit, and if whatever parameter you want to edit, you can edit, and then click on submit. It will be edited. Okay. Similarly, if you want to go to distribution service, you can see the distribution service is this. Right now, we haven't configured anything, so you don't see anything here. Then you see here receiver service. So receiver service establishes the connectivity with distribution service. So when distribution service is running, the connectivity with target receiver server is made, and then you will see the path. And then here is the performance matrix server. So it shows your admin server, distribution service, performance matrix service, receiver service, everything is running. Also, all the process status changes, each messages get returns, get return over here. If you want to see any status change overview, you can see. Right now there is no status change, so you don't see anything. Okay, for distribution, each service also it provides the status, and then monitoring commands. This is okay. So performance matrix server is another important thing. Once we configure the process, you will see that you can monitor a lot of things at process level as well. Okay. So Goldengate microservices involves 3 homes. One is Goldengate home, second is service manager home, and third is deployment home. Under Goldengate home, you install the Goldengate microservices binaries. Service manager home is for service manager, and deployment home is for deployment. So if you want to see, I'll go to /data sudo -io Oracle data app Oracle product. So here, if you see, you have got 2 directories, ogg123_sm and ogg123_ma. So this sm directory holds all service manager related files. My deployment directory stores all deployment related files. Okay, so basically all trail files, parameter files, or any process related files, anything, checkpoint files, all the files resides under deployment home. Because where do you configure Goldengate processes? Under administration server, and administration server is part of deployment. So that's it. So if you try to see, just to give you a brief overview, this is not to confuse you, but just to show you, if you check the directory structure of service manager and deployment home, you will see that the directory structure would be same. Like under service manager, you have got 3 directories, etc verbin. Similarly, if you go to deployment home, let me take another window. pwd 123_deploy. Okay, so this is deployment. So you see, just like service manager, we have got etc var here. In service manager, you also have one more directory, which is bin. Where did that go? Where was I looking into? Okay, I'll again go to service manager home. Okay, ogg123_sm. So if you list out, there are 3 directories, etc var bin. However, in deployment, you have etc var, you don't have any bin. Again, if you go to in service manager, if you go to say, for example, var, here again you'll find these directories, right? Same thing if you go to var in deployment, here as well you'll find the same directory. So the directory structure remains same, but you have to understand one thing, there is difference. Service manager holds only service manager related files and directories. Deployment home stores deployment related directories. I'll just give you one tip right now. Mostly you will be using deployment home instead of service manager home. Mostly you'll be using deployment home because deployment home contains all process related files. Okay, so if I have to quickly recap what we discussed today is, in session 2 of Goldengate microservices, we discussed about downloading of microservices architecture. So we started with basically the hardware requirement, then space requirement we discussed, and then we discuss about certification metrics. Okay. Then under admin server, we configure Goldengate extract processes, etc. Before proceeding with installation, we need to define where we need to install Goldengate, whether under separate mount point or existing mount point. Then we decided like prior to the installation, you need to create 3 Goldengate homes. One is Goldengate home, second is service manager home, and third is deployment home. And then we discuss about different directories. Along with that, we create the service manager. So to create the service manager, we ran oggca.sh script to run the service manager. And then we proceeded forward accordingly. After that, once the installation is done, we can reach out to service manager through any web browser. We can do http:/IP address: port number on which your service manager is running. So service manager related directory will be under ogg123_sm. Deployment related directories will be under ogg123_deploy.